So the big news this week, Ben Askren, UFC bound. You guys fought on the same card together in Columbia, Missouri in 2009. It was your featherweight debut. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
146 pounds.
Yeah, that was 145 pounds. I fought a kid named Dustin Pekin, and it was like you said, Columbia, Missouri. It was Tyron Woodley's debut fight. It was Ben Askren's debut fight as professional, and also on the undercard as a amateur was Neil Magny, and I was the main event.
Wow.
Interesting, right? Interesting history I have.
Yeah, said looking at Tyron Woodley all the way down that fight card. So,
yeah.
So was that your first brush with Ben Askren that night, or no?
No. I had met Ben before. Ben had come to I lived in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I had a gym there, and Ben had came to Florida like probably 2006 or 2007 to do wrestling camps, and he stopped by my gym, and me and him became good friends there. So that way back then. So me and him have been friends for a long time, and I'm just happy that Ben now has the opportunity to showcase his skills in the UFC before it's too late for him, because I still think he has a lot of good fight left in him, because the UFC kind of has a tendency to bring guys in when it's too late for him. But I think Ben is probably a smarter fighter now. He may have a little ring rust, but I think he's a tremendous asset to the welterweight division in the UFC.
You know, Dean, I don't think a lot of people realize how good an Olympic level wrestler really is in the training room, for example. You've seen it firsthand, and especially the unique style that Askren brings with that funk style wrestling, the way that he counters, the way that he Granby rolls, all the funky stuff that he does out there. It's amazing to watch. For me, how can you explain it to guys, just as far as the quality of wrestler that Askren is?
Yeah, and like people don't know. I mean, and I'm watching. It's funny because I'm kind of comparing it to Conor McGregor. When Conor McGregor first came out, he was talking a lot, and people didn't want to believe him. They just didn't want to see a guy talk so much and be good. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Ben. Like, he's talking a lot now, but you're not going to be able to prepare for how good he really is. It's almost grappling with like two different people at the same time. I mean, it's really weird. Like, you can't really mimic the amount of pressure that he could put on you when he's on top of you. You just can't do it. And then if you get on top of him, you just can't stop him from moving. There's no way to like stop all his body parts from moving. He is a tremendous grappler, a tremendous wrestler, and one of the best competitors I've ever seen compete.
Now, Dean, one thing that people aren't talking about is the fact that Askren has helped Tyron Woodley, right, prepare for a lot of matches. They wrestled together at University of Missouri. Was it at the same time?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they were teammates.
Like, Tyron was a little bit older than Ben, but they wrestled. They were teammates.
Now they're going to be fighting, it looks like, in the same division. Could we see a Tyron Woodley versus Ben Askren fight in the future? You know both of these guys.
I know both of them, and I can't imagine that Tyron would ever fight Ben. Just because Tyron, like, part of the reason why Tyron is champion is because of Ben. Like, Tyron gets so much from Ben, like just the energy and just, something that Ben brings to the table. Tyron really feeds off of that. I can't imagine Tyron ever wanting to stand across from him and really fight him. I don't think it'll ever happen.
Dean Thomas with us here on the Anik Florian Podcast. So Amanda Nunes, 2 months from today, will challenge Chris Cyborg and try to become the first women's simultaneous two-division champion in UFC history. And I got to imagine you're pretty excited with this challenge and this opportunity. But I don't think shock the world is sort of the way to put it. I feel like a lot of sharp minds out there not only are picking Amanda Nunes to win this fight, but they're putting their money where their mouth is already.
Yeah, I tell you what, like, it's a tough fight for both girls. Like, if you're an uneducated fan, you'll look at Cyborg and say, oh yeah, she's going to win. She's got the size advantage, she's bigger. But, if you're educated, you see that Amanda brings a lot to the table. She's a tremendous athlete. She hits hard. She's got a very diverse skill set, and she can present a lot of problems to Cyborg. It's a tough fight for both girls. It's one that, I think it's going to come down to who prepares the best and who's the sharpest on that night. But I think, you're obviously training really hard for it, but I think it really does come down to preparation.
And another guy you're preparing, Pedro Munoz. He fights Brian Caraway November 30th. How many UFC fighters are you cornering right now? I mean, how are you sort of holding up with the week to week.
It's weird because I kind of had to stop some of the UFC guys so I could kind of focus a little bit more on our up and coming guys, because when eventually these guys, they leave, the UFC guys eventually get cut, and we got to make sure that we have some guys waiting to get in. So I'm kind of focusing on them right now, but I still always have my hands full with UFC guys. I'm just getting back from Canada. I didn't see you out there, John. I was in Canada with Yesin Ayari. He obviously didn't get the W, but he still fought a good fight against Stevie Ray. But I was out there with him. But after that, I'm going to China with Jessica Aguilar, and then I'm still working with Greg Hardy. So it's just got my hands full every day working with these. But I'm organized though. That thing I attribute that to my organization. I keep scouting reports on all my guys, and I record everything that they do, so that I'm always on top of what they're doing.
Dean, what days do you take a bubble bath? Just chilling with some Enya playing in the background? When some incense?
I got Enya playing in the background, candles. I got the cow gone and a rubber ducky in the bathtub on Sundays.
All
right. You got to rest.
You mentioned the Ayari fight, and I did watch it on UFC Fight Pass against Stevie Ray. I didn't quite realize that you were there, so my apologies for that. But a lot of people thought maybe he could have gotten the nod. How did you feel after those 15 minutes?
Yeah, I thought he won. I thought it was close. I didn't think he got robbed, but I did think he won. But this is what I was saying about judging. I mean, we have to do a better job of establishing what the criteria is. And also at some point we have to make the decision to go, we need open scoring, because, going into the third round, he's thinking he's winning. Now, obviously, I thought he could have did more to establish himself as the winner, but just punching more and, countering the kicks a little better. But he's thinking he's winning, but there was no urgency for him, because he can't look up at the scoreboard and say, look, I'm losing this fight. I need to do something to win, because in his head he's thinking he's winning. So he just he's chilling. But I think open scoring solves that problem. If we have open scoring, he can look up at the score and say, look, you're losing this fight. You may think you're winning, but you're losing this fight. You need to step on the gas. But again, it's just the fight game. I think that we just need to do a better job of clarifying what's scoring points and what's not scoring points, because it's all up to the judges, but we don't know what they're thinking during the middle of the fight.
Right. No, you and I have talked about open scoring. I'm a proponent of it as well. It's not without its holes, right? There are some issues with it, but I am largely all for open scoring. All right, final thing before we let you go. Personally, professionally, I mean, we just had Ray Long go on, and he was saying he's sort of starting to fatigue a little bit, and you're trying to shift your focus to where you think it needs to be. But relative to how you thought this part of your professional life would play out, are you happy? I mean, how are you holding up to the MMA weekly grind?
Oh, man, I love it. I have a lot of autonomy in what I'm doing. I got this unique opportunity to be a MMA coach at American Top Team, and it gives me a lot of freedom to work with, the people that I want to work with, and they give me a lot of freedom to really kind of sit down and look at the game from a different set of eyes, because, when you're fighting, you're looking at the game from your set of eyes and what your skill set allows you to be able to do. But for me, I'm looking at it from this broad perspective, and I can see everything now. So I'm a much smarter person in terms of MMA now than I was when I was actually fighting. And I don't know. I just love where I'm at as far as the game. I can't necessarily say that I love the MMA game itself, but the fighting aspect and the strategy of it, I love that part of it.
And I've seen your film and your scouting reports, and I put your knowledge and your ability to sort of make that knowledge work for you and your fighters. I put it up against anybody in the game. Dean Thomas, thank you for the time, my man. Wish you all the best over the next few weeks, and don't be a stranger, kid. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, fellas. I'll talk to you guys soon, man. Thanks for having me on.
See you, Dean.
There he is, the legend, Dean Thomas, here on the Anik Florian Podcast. Well, as you've heard me say on the show, Ken Flo, UFC bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw, maybe the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, absolutely loves the fight, loves the strategy, and everything that comes with fighting for a living. You know what else he loves, though? Toyo tires, because like Dillashaw, Toyo tires are as tough as they come, and they are the official tire of the UFC. There's a lot to love about Toyo tires. Aggressive design, proven on and off-road capabilities. These truly are tires for any weather, and they've got the toughness to back up that claim and then some. There's just a confidence that comes with tough tires. So no matter what you're driving, no matter where you're driving, you can count on Toyo tires. Of course, they look great as well. They are the choice of so many fighters on this UFC roster, top to bottom. Tough people love tough tires, and Toyo tires have been proven time and time again. So if you're tough, these are the tires for you, Toyo tires. The next time you need tires, ask for Toyo, the official tire of the UFC. Learn more at toyotires.com/UFC, toyotires.com/UFC. All right, UFC Moncton is in the books. We turn our attention to the pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden this weekend, UFC 230, Cormier versus Lewis. Let us get to the main event challenge.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights! I'm going to do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The John Anik and Kenny Florian Podcast.
All right, so when we look back at this 2018 main event challenge, Flo, this UFC Moncton show might just have been the proverbial nail in the coffin. How about Brian Petrie, podcast listener, showing up large last week? He wins the week 6-3.
Dope.
Underdog winners on Anthony Lionheart-Smith and Sean Strickland. So Team Anik's lead 13, 122 to 109. And joining us to make picks today. So this man reps the 209 pretty hard, Ken Flo. He was scheduled today because Nate Diaz, of course, was supposed to make his return this weekend against Dustin Poirier. That is not going to happen, but we are still thrilled to have this guy. Ryan Martinson, repping the 209, is with us today. Ryan, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, man. I like that picture of you on the dock. So do you think now that some time has passed from 2016 when I got the tattoo, like, would I be welcomed in the 209 or should I still steer clear?
No, you'd absolutely be welcome. You're a man of your word, and there's a lot of respect in that. Although I do typically avoid people with 209 tattoos. It can be a sign of trouble, but no, you're more than welcome out here.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I'm not sure you speak for the majority when you open up those arms, but I appreciate you saying that.